US Navy has the power to clear the Strait of Hormuz in hours. So why hasn't it? Because every single day, around 100 ships are forced through this narrow passage, carrying close to 20% of the world's oil supply. That's millions of barrels, moving through shipping lanes just 3 kilometers wide in each direction. No room to maneuver, no room for error. And yet, this is one of the most heavily monitored waterways on Earth. US warships patrol nearby, aircraft track movement from above. Surveillance systems watch almost everything that moves. So why does traffic still slow down? Why do ships hesitate in a place that should be completely secure? Because in Hormuz, you don't need to block the strait to shut it down. You just need to make it feel unsafe. And once that happens, everything changes. Speeds drop, ships delay entry, insurance disappears, and control doesn't collapse all at once. It slips, which raises the real question. If the US Navy can clear Hormuz in hours, what exactly is stopping it from keeping it open? Now zoom out. Because the real issue isn't just the strait, it's what's moving through it. Around 3,000 ships pass through Hormuz every month, about 100 every single day. And most of them aren't built for conflict. No weapons, no defense systems, no protection, just cargo. Some of these tankers carry up to 84 million gallons of oil each, which means every ship isn't just valuable, it's critical. Now think about what that creates. A narrow corridor, packed with slow-moving, high-value targets, all following the same predictable route. That's not just traffic, that's exposure. Because protecting one ship, possible. Protecting dozens at once, moving through the same confined space under constant uncertainty is a completely different problem. And that's where the contradiction starts to make sense. Because the Navy doesn't just have to clear the strait, it has to protect everything inside it at the same time. In most naval operations, time is your advantage. Threats come from distance. Sensors detect them early. Defenders have minutes to react, sometimes longer. But Hormuz doesn't work like that. Because here, distance disappears. The strait is narrow, traffic is dense, and potential threats can emerge from very close range, which means reaction time collapses from minutes to seconds. Seconds too. Detect what's happening, decide if it's a threat, track it accurately, and respond before impact. Now add complexity. You're not protecting one ship. You're monitoring dozens moving at once through lanes just 3 kilometers wide. All of them slow, all of them exposed, all of them potential targets. So every second matters, and every decision carries risk. Because if you act too late, you lose control. But if you act too early, you risk escalating the entire situation. And that's where the advantage of power starts to fade. Because in Hormuz, it's not about how strong you are, it's about how fast you can decide under pressure. Now look at the economics. Because this is where the balance shifts. A single large tanker moving through Hormuz can carry up to 84 million gallons of oil. At peak prices, that cargo alone can be worth tens of millions of dollars. The ship itself? Often $100 million or more. Now compare that to the cost of disruption. A drone, tens of thousands. A simple naval mine, even less. And you don't need many, just enough to create uncertainty. Because once uncertainty spreads, the system reacts. Insurance premiums spike. Shipping companies delay entry. Traffic slows down across the entire corridor. We've seen what that looks like. When tension rises in Hormuz, oil prices don't just move slightly, they jump from around $70 to over $100 per barrel during peak disruption periods. And that ripple doesn't stay local. Fuel costs rise globally, transport prices increase, supply chains tighten. So the equation is simple: low-cost disruption, high-cost consequences. And that's what makes control so difficult. Because the goal isn't just to stop ships, it's to make moving through the strait feel too risky to continue. Now go below the surface, because this is where control becomes slow and uncertain. Sea mines don't need to be advanced, they just need to exist. In past conflicts in this same strait, a single mine strike damaged a US warship and forced an immediate shift in operations. That's the impact, not widespread destruction, but instant doubt. And once mines are suspected, everything changes. Ships don't stop completely, they hesitate, traffic slows, routes tighten, confidence drops. And here's the part most people underestimate. Clearing mines isn't fast. Each one has to be detected, identified, verified, neutralized one at a time. And even after that, there's no guarantee the area is fully clear, so confidence doesn't return immediately. It comes back slowly, which means even after the strait is cleared, it doesn't feel safe. And in a system like Hormuz, feeling safe is everything, because once that feeling is gone, control starts to slip. Here's where everything flips, because ships aren't always stopped by force, they're stopped by risk. When tension rises in Hormuz, insurers can classify the area as a high-risk war zone. And once that happens, insurance premiums don't just increase, they can spike dramatically or disappear entirely. And without insurance, no shipping company is willing to move a vessel worth hundreds of millions of dollars through that corridor. Not for oil, not for cargo, not for anything. So the strait doesn't need to be physically blocked. It can shut down economically, and we've seen the impact before. After attacks on tankers in the region, global oil prices reacted almost immediately, jumping within days as supply fears spread. Because oil is traded globally, a disruption in Hormuz affects prices everywhere. Which means the real weapon here isn't just missiles or mines, it's uncertainty. Because once ships stop trusting the route, they stop using it, and that's when control doesn't break violently, it breaks quietly. So what would it actually take to clear the Strait of Hormuz? Not just patrol it, not just monitor it, fully secure it, because at this point the problem isn't just at sea, it's everywhere around it. Threats can come from the coastline, from small vessels, from the air, from below the surface, which means clearing the strait isn't a single operation, it's multiple operations happening at once. You would need to sweep and neutralize mines across active shipping lanes, monitor and intercept fast-moving surface threats, control nearby airspace to detect incoming risks, protect dozens of ships moving at the same time, and even then, it's not permanent. Because history shows this doesn't stay contained. During past conflicts in this same region, attempts to secure shipping lanes led to escalation, drawing more forces into the area and increasing the risk of wider confrontation. That's the reality. Clearing Hormuz isn't just a naval task, it's a sustained, high-risk operation, one that doesn't end when the threats are removed, because new ones can appear just as quickly. Even if you manage to clear the strait, the risk doesn't disappear. It resets, because this system is fragile by design. Every day, around 100 ships pass through these narrow lanes, many carrying massive energy loads that the global economy depends on. That means the margin for error is almost zero. One successful strike, just one, can trigger a chain reaction. A damaged tanker can block a lane. Traffic behind it slows or stops. Insurance costs surge. Shipping companies pull back, and the ripple spreads. We've seen how sensitive this is. Even limited attacks on tankers have caused immediate jumps in global oil prices, because oil isn't local, it's global. So disruption in Hormuz affects everything: fuel prices, transport costs, supply chains, which means control here is never permanent. It has to be maintained, constantly, and even then, it only takes one moment to break it again. So yes, the US Navy can clear the Strait of Hormuz. That part is true. It has the ships, the aircraft, the surveillance, the firepower. On paper, it could remove threats from this narrow corridor in hours. But clearing it and keeping it open are two completely different problems. Because every day, around 100 ships still have to pass through those same narrow lanes. Slow, exposed, dependent on confidence. And confidence is the one thing force can't guarantee. You can remove mines, you can patrol the waters, you can respond to threats, but you can't eliminate uncertainty. And in Hormuz, uncertainty is enough. Enough to slow traffic, enough to raise costs, enough to make companies hesitate, which means the strait doesn't need to be physically blocked to break. It just needs to feel unsafe. And that's the contradiction, because the most powerful navy in the world isn't trying to control the strait completely, it's trying to keep it stable. And in a system this fragile, those are not the same thing.